Hey everybody, thank you for visiting my channel and for being here. The name of my channel is The Stories Behind the Songs. And if you're new here, I review songs from the past. Right now I'm reviewing songs from 1972. I started reviewing songs from 1970, 1971, and now I'm doing some songs from 1972. Obviously, there are so many songs, so I decided, well, why don't you focus on the U.S. Billboard Top 100 end of the year songs for the year, for those years, and that's what I did. And I pretty much picked randomly some songs that I like, some songs that I really wasn't that familiar with, and I was curious to learn more about them. And so that's what's been happening. So today we're looking at the number 2 song on the U.S. Billboard Top 100 End of the Year Songs for 1972, and it's by this Irish singer-songwriter called Gilbert O'Sullivan. Maybe some of you guys heard of him. And he had a song that he wrote, and it was it made number 2 for 1972, Alone Again Naturally. And you guys might be somewhat familiar with this. Check it out, just a little bit.
In a little while from now, if I'm not feeling any less sound, I promise myself to treat myself and visit a nearby tower, and climbing to the top, will throw myself off.
Okay, so that's all we're going to do because I don't want to get in trouble, but just to give you a feeling or an idea of what we're talking about. And of course, if you want to hear the song more, you're welcome to it, right? You can totally listen to it. I provided a link down below for you guys. So in my research of this song, originally I didn't really want to do the song. I felt like, man, it's kind of boring. But then I said, well, Lukey, just, check it out. You might find some interesting stuff there. And I did find some interesting stuff about this song in particular, which I was really quite surprised. Now, the name of the song is Alone Again, in quotes, Naturally. And it's by the Irish singer-songwriter, like I said earlier. His name is Gilbert O'Sullivan. Okay? And let's see. The song was released in the UK first on February 18, 1972. So it was released early on in the year of February, of 1972. And then it was released in the US in May of 1972. Okay, so why they did that, I don't know. Why they took so long to release it in the US, I'm not really sure. Maybe in the UK it did really well, and then they decided to release it in the US. Who knows? There could be a lot of reasons. I'm sure a lot of it had to do with how popular it would be. So originally, the song appeared as a non-album single in the UK. It did not come inside of an album of a collection of music. It just came as a single. But in the US, he produced an album with this song inside of that album, and that album was called Himself. Now, as far as I know, this is the song that hit. He was like it was like he was one of those musicians who had a one-time awesome pop song, and then was not able really to go in the pop charts after that with the songs that came afterwards. This was his signature song, in other words. Now, but still, Alone Again Naturally is, a melancholic, introspective ballad. And that's how it is referred to in Wikipedia, as a ballad. It's an introspective ballad. And a ballad is a song or verse that tells a story. And in this song, he is telling a story. Originally, a medieval French dancing song was where the ballad originally comes from. And it has 4-line stanzas or quatrains, officially, the structure, the standard structure. And it had quatrains or lines or verses, okay? And it has a rhythm. When it rolls into each story, creating a strong storyline. So it's going to have these sections, and each section tells you a little bit more. The next section tells you a little bit more, and they're all interconnected, and it creates like a storyline, and that's what this song does. So that's why they're saying that it's an introspective, kind of like an introspective ballad. And I thought that was kind of interesting when they said that, because it kind of shows you how story writing and songwriting can develop. For some of you who might be interested in doing some, lyric writing for your songs, if you're interested in that. The storyline will focus on love, okay, a loss of love, a tragedy, or kind of like a heroic event, being something that was heroic, or a hero, okay, or a heroine, for example. In popular music, the term generally refers to a slow, sentimental love song, okay. What else can I say about this? Now, in this song, the first story, the singer contemplates suicide, okay? He wants to kill himself after having been left at the altar. So he's in love, and they're going to get married, and the wedding's put on. Everybody, all the guests are at the church, and he goes to the church, and the bride never shows up. So he's left at the altar. Now, obviously, that's a big tragedy in somebody's life, a young person's life. Obviously, any kind of love that eventually gets rejected later on, it's tragic. It's really sad. So that's, in this song, that's the first story. In the second story, okay, the writer wonders, or the main character wonders, why God let this terrible thing happen to him. And we see his questioning his faith and doubting if God even exists. So like it's like the essential essence of your belief system, right? So that's the second storyline. And then the next storyline, the next storyline, he starts remembering his parents. And he starts remembering their deaths, because he's thinking of dying, and a love that he had has died. And then immediately he thinks of his parents, who usually the closest people in our lives are our parents. After our lover, right? It's our parents, your partner, and then your parents, and then your siblings, right? So for him, that's what's going on in this narrative anyway, okay? So I guess you could say that this is a tragedy, not a comedy. There are 3 stories that tell of tragic events that many of us have often been through these things. I've been through this before, many times, that when you live a long time, and I've lived a pretty long time, 7 decades, I'm in my 7th decade. So, you go through a lot of challenges in life, a lot of loss, a lot of disappointment, but then there's also a lot of beauty and a lot of joy, and in the moment when tragedy is happening, it feels so intense, right? Because you're experiencing it in the moment. But like for me, after all this time, I don't really, have not really had a lot of tragedy yet. I haven't lost a child. I have a son. I haven't lost, close family members yet. That doesn't mean that it's not going to happen and that I'm going to have these losses. I have lost my mother. So, but, he was younger when he lost his parents, I think. And so when you're younger and you lose your parents, it's maybe a little bit more traumatic. But anyway, where am I? So I'm running off into little sub-stories here. But let's see. So in the song, by repeating the verse, alone again, naturally, that line marks the end of one story or theme, we can call them a theme, to move on to the next story or the next the next theme. Okay, so you could say that it is that line is like an emotional punch, right? Or a reminder, alone again, naturally. Okay, so like that it's naturally. He saw his mom lose her husband, and that was a big loss for her, and alone again naturally, and so it's like it keeps giving you that punchline before it goes into the next section of the story. And so it's marking the place where one story ends, and it prepares to go on to the next part of the story being told. So it's a pretty cool structure in terms of like if you are interested in writing and you want to get some writing done, this is kind of a cool thing to follow. Cool structure to kind of practice, I guess. Now, we could say that one section speaks of suicide in this song in particular, and then it moves on to the questioning his belief system, his religion, and his belief in God, his faith, right? And then to finally remembering his parents and their deaths, okay? Concluding that he's alone again naturally because everybody dies or everybody leaves, relationships fall apart, etc. So interesting to think that these three themes are or maybe similar to our own stories in our lives, right? We can relate to that, and that's why this song was so popular. It was a huge hit. It's number 2 out of 100 songs for 1972, end of the year. Number 2. So, let's see. The thing is, we are all looking for a sense of who we are and our role in our lives and what we want to do and who we want to share it with. So it's very relatable. And that's what's so cool about this song. It's like when we have our spiritual evolution of our belief systems, of what it all means, and if there is really a God, there's that questioning. We all go through that faith and that belief system of a spiritual development, if you want to say it that way. And we all also come to a point in our lives where we remember the past, we remember our parents, we remember what it was like back then, and then the loss of that it can be very traumatic. It can be a big deal. So there's that going on with the themes, with some of the themes here. He remembers, like with him, right? He's remembering his parents, right? And how his mother missed her husband, his dad, etc. So with each theme that is presented in the song, it always ends with the fact that the lyrical voice, the telling of the person telling the story, is alone again and again and again. And it always seems to end up that way, right? all of these are recurring themes, recurring human experiences, and the fact that it happens again and again in one's life. You could be married with somebody for 40 years and eventually your partner is going to pass away and you're going to be alone. And I have many times seen how difficult it is for many people to what's the word I want to say, to be able to get over the loss. And it seems to me that the longer they've been married, the more the partner has depended on has had a dependency on their partner who has died, the more difficult it is for them to get over it. It's really, really, really hard. From what I've seen, from what I have, with friends of my parents, that we've known them for many years and stuff, that happens. My mother, personally, she lost her husband, my dad, when she was younger. My dad was 49 years old when he died, and my mother must have been like 47, 46. So, but still, it was really hard for her. But she seemed to, from what I was able to recall, of those past times, she went back to Guatemala, which is where she was originally from, and she had her sister living there, and so she had a really close relationship with her sister since they were kids. So when she went back, she had that support, emotional support with her sister. So for her, even though it was tragic and she had to go through the sorrow of losing her husband, she, with the move to Guatemala, buying a new house over there, she was able to move on with her life and be happy. So it just depends, but I find it with people who've been together, up to their 60s, and early 70s, it's really hard. So basically, verse 1, we have the narrator contemplating suicide, okay, by jumping from a tower. Okay, it's very dramatic, and this is Ireland, okay? Jumping from a tower after being left at the altar. Okay, so I don't know, like if you jump from a tower, depends on how high it is, that it would kill you. It might just break your legs and then you'll still be alive and won't be able to walk. So I'm not really sure about that, but that's what the narrator tells us, right? And then in verse 2, the narrator shifts to the questioning of the existence of God, of his God, and his faith. And obviously it's Ireland, so most likely it's Catholic. They're Catholic, right? and why a deity. That's what um, um, Google AI said, and why a deity would allow bad things to happen to good people. Okay, and the thing is that it really doesn't have anything to do with God or with a deity when a bad thing happens to you or a good thing happens to you, because we're living as humans experiencing the material world, and there's a lot going on. There's all kinds of energy coming in and out with people. It's a busy place. It's a very busy place, right? There's a lot going on. So for me, that's an interesting perspective. And in verse 3, the singer reflects on the tragedy of his parents' deaths. Okay, so he's kind of like remembering that. And it's interesting how something really bad has to happen for him to remember that, right? And that's very human. And finally, there's the theme of being alone. Yeah. The song received a huge radio airplay. It's extensive in the months after its release, and it was critically praised. So like once it came out in May in the US, it was like for 3 months, it was like being played constantly. So between July and early September of 1972, the single spent 6 weeks at the number one, the number one on the Billboard for that time period, because they do the Billboard does, the US Billboard also does lists of the songs that come out in that month. So like in the month of July, number 1, August, number 1, September, number 1, okay? Early September. So it was number 1 for a long time at the time that this song was first released. Now in the Billboard end of the year, which is what I'm doing, it's number 2. And that's pretty much what it is. Let me play you a little bit more of this song. I find that if I just play a little bit, I don't get in trouble, which is kind of nice, okay?
Wouldn't do the role I was about to play, but as if to knock me down, reality came around, and without so much as a mere touch.
Okay, now, while I was reading the lyrics to this song, I mean, it's really cool because he follows the rules of structure, and so they have this rhythm. Okay, so I really had to study it and kind of, try to learn how to read it with that rhythm style. So he goes, in a little while from now, if I'm not feeling any less sour, let me just fix this so I can read it a little bit better. Oh gosh, what did you do? Okay, press the wrong button. Here we go. Let me read it for you then. In a little while from now, if I'm not feeling any less sour, I promise myself to treat myself and visit a nearby tower. And climbing to the top, will throw myself off. What an effort to make. Let me see. What an effort to make it clear to whoever. What an effort to make it clear to whomever what it's like when you are shattered. Left standing in the lurch at the church where people saying, my God, that's tough. She stood him up. No point in us remaining. We may as well go home as I did on my own. And then here comes alone again naturally. So it's kind of like a bridge. And then To think that only yesterday I was cheerful, bright, and gay, looking forward to who wouldn't do the role I was about to play. Who wouldn't do the role I was about to play, the role of getting married and being a husband and loving somebody. Okay, and then he says, but as if to knock me down, reality came around, and without so much as a mere touch, cut me into little pieces, leaving me to doubt. Talk about God in his mercy, for if he really does exist, why did he desert me? In my hour of need, I truly am indeed alone again naturally. And there's that bridge again. And then boom, it jumps into the final theme. It seems to me that there are hearts broken in the world that can't be mended, left unattended. What do we do? What do we do? Alone again naturally. And then in that part there's like a break, and there's like he's the guitar playing at that point in time, a little piece of guitar, just the music, and then it jumps in. Now looking back over the years and whatever else that appears, I remember I cried when my father died, never wishing to hide the tears. And at 65 years old, my mother, God rest her soul, couldn't understand why the only man she had ever loved had been taken, leaving her to start with a heart so badly broken. Despite encouragement from me, no words were ever spoken. And when she passed away, I cried and cried all day, alone again naturally. And that's the end. Alone again naturally. That's how it ends. Okay, so let me just play it a little bit again. That's the part where just the guitar's playing. It's like the transition. It's very pretty.
Alone again, naturally.
Now, this guy was a really good writer, and he was well known for his writing style. So if you want to study his style a little bit more, you can really just like find the album on YouTube and just listen to the songs and write the lyrics, find the lyrics, and then just study the lyrics. And you can even go into other songs and study their lyrics. But I think that his stuff is really a nice kickoff. Now, honestly, initially I did not want to do this song because it was just like, it didn't make me want to feel like dancing. I guess that's why I didn't like it. But I don't, I realized, yeah, sure, it's great to have some music where, it brings you, especially at my age, and it kind of brings life into you, and you can move even better because you're listening to the beat of the music, and it's great. And this is like really a very melancholic, sad song, it kind of like very gentle. It's almost like you want to sit under a tree and just ponder on life and why things happen the way they happen, and just ponder about your life and why you did this and that person did that, and just kind of to think and ponder and meditate, I guess what we call it today. So it's very lovely for that. It is a lovely song, very gentle, very smooth, very easygoing, beautiful ballad actually. And so that's what I decided to do for this week. I hope you liked it. I really liked it. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy the music. Until then, Till the next time, peace, love, and understanding. Always understanding each other. Take good care and see you next time. Adios.